Am I too late? He's alive.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we'll be looking at our picks for the 10 PS1 games that deserve a remake.
Yes! Double flash!
For this list, we'll be looking at games from Sony's first console that don't get the attention they deserve, and it should be experienced by all new audiences with a full-fledged, from-the-ground-up remake. PS1 had no shortage of amazing games. Which one did we miss that you want to see remade for the modern age? Let us know down in the comments. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Chrono Cross. While there is plenty to be said for the SNES classic Chrono Trigger, its follow-up Chrono Cross is rarely in the same conversation. Chrono Cross has all the hallmarks of a classic-in-the-making JRPG. Beautifully detailed characters and environments, tough but fair turn-based combat, and gorgeous CGI cutscenes that still hold up to this day. Most likely due to direct competition from Square's own other major JRPG franchise entry, Final Fantasy IX, which released the same year, Chrono Cross failed to resonate with gamers the way the original title had only 5 years earlier. And despite much critical praise, Chrono Cross simply wasn't given the attention it truly deserved upon its initial release. While a possible remake of both entries would be ideal, simply giving Chrono Cross another chance to live up to the high bar set by its predecessor would be fantastic. Omega Boost. For something so seemingly designed particularly for gaming, mech and robot combat games are surprisingly hard to come by, even on modern consoles. Omega Boost was a breath of fresh air for gamers wanting anything close to the speed of the mechs in the popular Gundam anime series. While most mech games were clunky and the mechs themselves were surprisingly slow, Omega Boost jetted gamers into space with a robot that was anything but slow. Varied enemies and fast, responsive gameplay and live-action cutscenes that weren't entirely cringeworthy, Omega Boost was definitely something new. While not as well known or financially successful as the MechWarrior series, Omega Boost more than deserves its time in the sun with 4K resolution. With the Zone of the Ender series seemingly dead, Omega Boost might be gamers' last hope for fast-paced mech combat. Xenogears. The original Xenogears isn't a title no one's heard of, or one that was overlooked in its time. Xenogears was both a critical and financial success, and gamers the world over have adored the title for years. So why, with all the recent success of Xenoblade Chronicles on Nintendo's consoles, has the granddaddy of the series simply been left behind?
Wait! Hey! Don't leave me here! Wait!
With the game's science fiction tone, religious and adult themes, it stood out from most of the other Save the Kingdom tropes of many JRPGs at the time. And given the seemingly incomplete nature of the game's latter half, allowing the series creators the time and resources to fulfill their original vision for the game would not only benefit the creators, but fans of the series as well. Given the fan adoration and success of the recent releases, it almost feels like a disservice to the series to leave the entry that started it all behind. Syphon Filter.
Leon, this one's different from the others. It has a shorter timer, and it looks...
That's not viral.
Too late!
What Metal Gear Solid did to innovate the stealth genre, more on that in a bit, Syphon Filter did for the espionage action genre. Gabe Logan became an icon of the PlayStation amidst the likes of Cloud Strife and Solid Snake, but hasn't received the same love as those franchises over the many years since release.
Markinson. Leon's been killed. I need that chopper evac now.
While Sony Bend, formerly Eidetic Studios, has been chasing freaker hordes with their latest release Days Gone, Syphon Filter still doesn't seem to have been completely forgotten by the studio, but Gabe's infiltration days might be gone forever. However, with Solid Snake seemingly out of the picture for good, now would be the perfect time for Gabe to reclaim his title and sneak his way back onto gamers' consoles. Just whatever you do, don't ever change Gabe's iconic running style. Vagrant Story. Very few games, even in our current generation, manage to make their graphical style look as though you're simply playing as the game's concept art, and Vagrant Story managed to do just that back on the PlayStation 1. The game was unlike any other JRPGs of the time, and even by today's standards, still stands out as completely unique in the genre. This was especially helpful in solving the game's many puzzles and tackling the game's battles far more strategically than other titles before it. With the success of Final Fantasy VII Remake on modern consoles, Vagrant Story could easily translate its gorgeous art style to gamers' 4K HDR displays and impress a whole new generation of gamers. With innovative approaches to combat and exploration, as well as the series' deep and moving storyline, this game deserves to be experienced by gamers who never had the chance back on PS1. Legacy of Kane Soul Reaver.
The descent had destroyed me, and yet I lived.
Few video game characters have had it as bad as Raziel. Not only was he killed in a jealous rage by Kane, but his series seems to share the same fate as its protagonist. While a few attempts have been made to bring the series into the modern era, few have made it past the conceptual stage.
I would choose oblivion over this existence.
The choice is not yours.
I am destroyed.
Legacy of Kane's style of gameplay would be a perfect fit for modern gaming, with its hack-and-slash combat and reality-shifting puzzles still influencing modern games today. The dream project would be to bring series writer and director Amy Hennig back on to reinvigorate the series she helped make so influential. Fans have long been waiting to continue the adventures of Raziel, and with her Star Wars project sadly being cancelled by EA, now is the perfect time for both to make their grand return.
Become my soul reaver, my angel of death.
The Legend of Dragoon. The original PlayStation had no shortages of outstanding JRPGs, but that also meant that more than a few managed to be overlooked. Despite selling over 1 million copies worldwide, The Legend of Dragoon, a game developed by Sony's own internal developer, Japan Studio, was compared to other, more popular JRPGs like the Final Fantasy series. And while the story might be somewhat predictable, the gameplay was still impressive and the game's lore was surprisingly deep. If given the chance to fully delve into the Game of Thrones style mythos that spanned thousands of years, the series could finally sit among the juggernauts of JRPGs today. However, with Japan Studios' closure, any chance for the series seemed to be resigned to the past for good. It's a shame too, because the series had the potential to be something special, but now we may never get to see how high it could soar. Metal Gear Solid.
I've been waiting for you, Solid Snake. Now we'll see if the man can live up to the legend.
This one is just such a no-brainer, but we're still waiting. A PlayStation benchmark title, Hideo Kojima's masterpiece garnered both critical and commercial praise. And while a pseudo-remake was released for the GameCube, fans felt it changed too much and strayed too far from the classic title. The original Metal Gear Solid story and memorable characters are still considered to be the best and most important in the long-running franchise, and the game's mind-bending fourth wall breaks are among some of gaming's best even today.
You have saved often. You are a prudent person.
With Kojima having parted ways with Konami, and Konami seemingly uninterested in reinvigorating their classic franchises, the only hope for fans might be in the much-rumored Bluepoint Studios remake. But until that becomes a reality, the closest gamers may ever come to a modern Shadow Moses mission is revisiting the island in Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots.
It's Snake. I'm in front of the disposal facility.
Excellent, Snake.
How's that sneaking suit working out?
Silent Hill.
What is this? What's going on here?
Hey look, it's Konami letting another one of their biggest franchises wither away on pachinko machines. The original Silent Hill set a new benchmark for horror with its overwhelmingly foreboding atmosphere and deep, disturbing lore. It's honestly hard not to get excited at the prospect of revisiting Silent Hill, with the series' trademark fog being an element of gameplay rather than a graphical limitation. Despite numerous sequels and spin-offs, with the exception of the excellent second game, none of those titles have been able to recapture the disturbing setting and horror that traumatized gamers over 2 decades ago. The writing might be scrawled on the wall for the series as a whole, however, especially after the cancellation of Silent Hills. But that doesn't stop rumors of a remake in some form giving gamers hope in the franchise's fog-laden future. Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Parasite Eve. Squaresoft's gamble on a horror RPG paid off. Suikoden 2. Over 100 recruitable characters in one of the PS1's greatest games. Die Hard Trilogy. Every movie was a different game genre. Dino Crisis. Capcom is currently experiencing their greatest renaissance since the original days of the Sony PlayStation, with the revival of classic franchises Resident Evil and Devil May Cry. So why then, Capcom, have you ignored your most requested remake since you gave us the stellar Resident Evil 2 remake? Originally seen as just Resident Evil with dinosaurs, the series developed its own fan base separate from the RE series. And while Resident Evil has seen countless entries, seriously, try to name them all. Dino Crisis was only given 2 main games. We don't talk about the 3rd game. Ever. Fans have become so desperate they've taken it on themselves to reignite interest in the franchise with a fan remake. And while we wish them the best, nothing could ever compare to seeing a T-Rex smash its head into a building in that amazing RE engine. Please, Capcom, we're begging you. Sincerely, everyone. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MojoPlays and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.